I don't have any slides. Is that okay? And mostly because the fine women before me have done such an excellent job, and I'm afraid if I put more slides up, it'd be too much. Just kidding. First, I have a little bit of a disclosure. For 18 years, I worked inside the oil and gas industry. I worked for Texaco, and I worked for Shell. And I did so because I believed at the time that they had all the money, and if I could put on the right clothes and get the right language down, that I could have a lot of influence and really change things interiorly. And my heart got broken about 12 years ago when I got terribly ill, and I couldn't figure out why. Why am I so sick? I can't get out of bed. My teeth are falling out. My endocrine system is collapsing. What the hell happened here? I was always so safe, And it wasn't until I saw an article in a magazine that we put it all together, that I'd been on the front lines of the Exxon Valdez oil spill. And about 15, 16, 17 years later, I was dying. And the allopathic physicians, they didn't know what to do. They said, well, you better put your affairs in order. You got about 6 months. And it was a whole bunch of people that came together and said, nah, we're not going to accept that. And it was through some naturopathic treatments and alternative medicine treatments that my life was saved, literally. And then I came up here to Vancouver. I grew up in the Northwest and right along the border because the two men that gave me my life back, the doctors here, they gave me new teeth, and I got, 10 teeth fell out. Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. And they gave me a chance to reliably get out of bed every day and to be able to work again. And that was important because when I got really sick the first time, I was an executive with Shell Canada. They fired me because I couldn't come to work anymore. And so it's had a pretty huge personal impact on me. And I just wanted to disclose that up front. I don't work for any oil and gas companies anymore. And I do consult, and I do to people that want to do the right thing. And mostly try now to support communities and give them the inside information about what you can demand from the oil and gas industry and what they will do. It's so often these days that in the activist community, I say, you could have gotten so much more. You really could have pressed harder. They really would have done more. And so I'm here to help empower you with truth and what it's like on that side of the box. And the first thing I want to say, as somebody who has got the phone call on the day the Exxon Valdez oil spill happened, and that was scary. And I went in and I said to my little son, I said, honey, Mom's going to take off for a while. And he says, are you going to save the eagles and the otters? And I said, yeah, I'm going to try. And he said, then you can go. And I said, okay. But I was right in the muck, every day. And my main job was to handle all the waste that was generated from the spill, all the dead animals, we had to make up a way to deal with it. I want to tell you that. We had to make it up. We were making it up on the fly. And in most spills that I've been in, not only just the Exxon Valdez, but other places, it's massive innovation in the moment. Constantly innovating in the moment. You can prepare and you can plan, and unfortunately because of the tragedies of so many, we can now put some of those innovations into play. But I'm telling you, you're not sleeping. You go days without sleep. These are the people that are responsible for solving the problem. And they're human beings. I want to get real about that. And you don't sleep. And you're under incredible pressure. And you're exposed all the time to severe toxic materials. And you're right in there. It's sort of like, it sort of happens. Anita, what are we going to do about the booms? Booms? What do you mean what are we going to do with the booms? Well, they're coming in off the water, and they're covered in crude. Oh, shit. Well, okay, I'll be back to you in a half an hour. And you basically schematically invent something and put it together. Now, others can benefit from that now. But on these larger incidents, that's kind of what's happening. in the back scenes. And the truth of the matter is we knew in the oil and gas industry that we would never, ever collect everything that spilled. And I'm embarrassed for the Coast Guard in Canada, because it's not just that they're lying. It's that the rest of the professional industry, there are people that this is their profession. It's embarrassing. We're all kind of talking on the side and going, hey, should they really say that? You know, that's not true. And so we've been quite surprised about that. I've been quite surprised about all of that. And additionally, there's a couple of key things that you could expect that didn't happen here. And I think we've heard it over and again, but I want to be really, really clear about that. And the first thing is this whole 6 to 8 hours to respond in any way, shape, or form. Thank you so much for really spelling it out. I think that's the first time, and I've done a lot of paying attention to media and council briefings and the whole thing online, and that's the first time I've heard the truth and an actual factual summation of that. In most instances in the industry, we're publishing that stuff in the paper. I want you to be able to know that you can expect that information. In fact, you should demand it. And it isn't hard to do, and it should be completely available to you. All right? Secondly, the clear reporting channels. This astonished me, that there weren't any clear reporting channels. And they were non-existent, literally, as we saw from the beautiful timeline that you pulled together. There were just no reporting channels. In the world I came from, reporting channels, I had a pager. My phone, I got a call at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. It didn't matter. And you activated like that. And I had cheat sheets. I worked at a refinery as an environmental health and safety manager. I've been in fires, industrial fires, and all that sort of stuff. And I had a cheat sheet. We all did. And boy, howdy, I knew exactly what my top priorities were. And we drilled that. We drilled that every other month. We practiced. We practiced so hard because we knew that we were going to be faced with things that we could never anticipate, and that we were going to have to be sharp and clear. And everything that we could have already taken care of gave us the room to respond to the fact that people might be dead, to the fact that communities might be harmed. I want to just pause for a minute. I want you guys to imagine if that spill was bigger. I want you to realize that the Sylvia Hotel will close for a very long time. That all those expensive waterfront, the beautiful waterfront in that area, and the Denman and running on those beaches, and all the people and all the homes all in that area, no, they're closed. They're gone. People have to move out. Where are you going to put them? Where are they going to go? All right? And the fact that that was non-existent is, again, I think I said it in the news this morning, is totally embarrassing. It's embarrassing to those of us that have trained our whole lives to be responsive to that. The emergency response by the responsible party, that's a really critical point. How many of you have heard anything about the people that are responsible for the spill? I haven't heard very much at all. And in fact, they're out. They're out of the harbor. In the world I come from, we fully anticipated on the industry side that if you recall, on the Exxon Valdez, Mr. Hazelwood, who was the captain, he was not at the helm of the ship at the time, but he was the captain, was arrested and put on trial. And we just said, oh, sorry, go ahead, get your grain, see you later, bye. Thanks for coming to visit Vancouver. Well, what? You know, I've just been flabbergasted by the fact that that ship and its responsible parties were allowed to leave the city. All right? And the next time this happens, and I do tell you, the next time this happens, the citizen response is, Katie, bar the door, you don't let anybody out of the harbor, even if you got to get the fishermen out there to help you. Because those people need to be held responsible for what they've done. All right? The other thing is that the beach assessment and closure, was delayed by was ridiculous. And the fact that citizens were responding, it really placed a lot of people at risk. And I'm going to tear up a little bit because I also want to disclose, this is the first time I've ever spoken publicly about my personal health effects and what happened to me from my time on the spill. And when Ricky put up the slide about what happens to you, it's really true. And I was really surprised by these emotions that still come up in me 26 years later. And it doesn't go away. And I'm sorry I'm expressing my pain because I don't think anybody in this community has had a chance to express theirs. And this is your time. And hopefully we'll have some time here so that we can deal with that. Because there's been a psychic and emotional trauma to our city. And we haven't had a chance to process that as a community. And I think that's really important. And before we can get on to the work of demanding what is rightfully ours under the law that we can expect, it's very important that we feel how hurt we are and how much it hurts. There remain a lot of questions about the spill. It's really frustrating for me to hear the Coast Guard claiming that everything's cleaned up. Well, number one, where are the cleanup standards? Have you shown me what cleanup means? Who's deciding what clean is? Who's deciding? And who has the legal authority to decide? And who do we hold accountable for that decision? And if it doesn't exist, then that's an item that the citizenry needs to demand in a democracy of its governance. All right? Not as politicians, it's governance. And that gets written into law. And you have to, and it's ahead of time. So you know what cleanup means. All right? Additionally, I'm really concerned about the spill workers that were from MRSC. I know that there's lots of questions about how that organization is set up and how it makes its money and how it's funded. But more importantly, I see these photographs of these guys around these greasy brooms and I don't see any respirators on them. And the reason I got so sick is because they told us we didn't have to wear respirators because we were dealing with biologically organic cleaning materials. And we looked at the material safety data sheets, and it said that. They lied to us. And so we didn't put respirators on. And that was the biggest thing, except for it getting in through my skin and just being exposed to it, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a year and a half. You just, it catches up with you. And that's very concerning to me, and it was really disconcerting to see citizens on the beach. I understand the heartfelt concern, I understand the anger, I understand the frustration, and it will kill you. It's like the fire department in Vancouver and this building here and the hotel next door are on fire and they can't get here. Would citizens run into the fire? Would they let them do that? No. This is the same thing. And I do hold the city accountable for not getting people off the beaches. I hold the city accountable for that. Yeah. Because even though they may not have any responsibility in the spill response as it's currently set up, I do hope that changes in the future, they do have policing powers. And they had an obligation and a responsibility and a legal requirement to protect the public. Not just arrest us, they're supposed to protect us too. And so if there's one thing the city's accountable for, it's for not managing access to the beach. When a spill has happened, if you don't have 40 hours worth of training, you haven't been respirator fit test, you can't just go buy a respirator and slap it on. There's all kinds of practicing you have to do. Different faces are different, so don't think you can just run out and get one and be okay. It's an 8-hour-a-day course. I teach it on respirator fit tests and how to be in a respirator and what you have to do. It's vital that you're in respiratory protection whenever you're working around anything like this. Vital. So it's horrifying to me, the lack of preparedness here. In the industry, we drilled significant events on a quarterly basis. Physically drilled. Putting on our suits, getting the boats out there, having a vessel out there, dropping boom, going around there. And I don't want to hear the business about the tourists aren't going to come and it's going to shut down our economy. I just don't want to hear it. It's unacceptable. Because we can have it so that the tourists are damn happy that we're keeping this place nice, all right? So don't let them use that on you, because that's going to be the first go-to. Ooh, the visual. Well, what, you mean the visual? You want to add 30 more tankers to English Bay, and that's not a deterrent? I don't know about that. I'm not really sure about that. And also, it's shocking to me that the industry is currently stating that you guys don't have a right to look at their spill plans or participate in their spill planning process because of what was it? What did I hear? Industry secrets? Is that right? Yeah. With all due respect, in the United States, the SPCC regulations, the spill contingency planning regulations, require you to workshop the plan and to get your public input. When I was the EH&S manager at a refinery in California, we unfortunately had some residents that were quite poor that were living in trailers right next to the refinery. And nobody had really paid attention to that. I got there and I went, if we have an incident, these people are really in big risk. And so I started a community program and involved them in the process and involved them in what we needed to do. And we started building community with these folks. And I'll never forget one public meeting. This gal says, I don't mind the flare so much. Kind of sounds like the ocean at night. And I just, these folks should really move, right? And so, and also I implemented a program to help relocate people and to pay them a fair exchange. Not only moving their trailers for them, but finding them really beautiful places to be and making sure that it didn't disrupt their economic scenario. And I got the maintenance guys to come over on the weekends and fix the pool so the kids weren't too hot. These are little things, but they're important. And what I want to tell you is that every single oil and gas person in the United States is having to disclose their spill contingency plans to the public. And I haven't seen any of them go bankrupt because of industry secrets. Have you? They all seem to be making a lot more money than me and doing just fine. So I think that's critical, a critical challenge that I would even go so far as to say might even warrant a legal challenge. We have a right to know, and we have a right to not only know, we have a right to participate. And we have a right to educate ourselves technically and to educate ourselves about what can be done. I got some disappointing news for you, just to ground it in the facts, all right? The boom, the skimming, and what people are kind of jokingly calling paper towels, even from the spill response workers, the big square absorbent towels. Those are specially made by 3M. I think there's some better absorbents. And are you ready for this? I'm going to drop a big one. That's the best we got. That's the best that industry has right now. And so the technical aspects of the spill response I want you to realize, were the best we've got. Now, we learned a little bit with the Exxon Valdez that you don't really want to high-pressure spray wash the beach because it's kind of like a bad idea, right? It just sort of shoves everything underground. It's still there. And not only that, we killed off all the natural flora and fauna that was on the beach that kind of would have helped us clean that stuff up over time. Nature's got a tool. She's got a lot she can give us, and you can help her do it. It takes a little bit more time, not quite as pretty. You got to leave it there for a while, and there are biological nutrients and agents that you can spray along the beaches, and then don't touch it. Just keep applying it. And it's a very tricky science. You can't just run out and do it. You can't just buy fertilizer at the store or grab some mushrooms off the shelves. You have to sample what's there. You have to test it in the lab. You have to make sure that what you want to apply is going to be effective. And you also have to deeply understand the aquatic ecosystem that you're operating in ahead of time so that you are not further disrupting the ecosystem, all right? And we did do that in Fidalgo Bay. We had a lightering pump explode, hot crude, went all over everything and went down into the bay. And because I'd been on the Exxon Valdez and I was deputy in the incident command system there and was responsible for all on-land impacts, I had an opportunity to influence the Coast Guard and the team to step away and go ahead and just do the bioremediation instead of digging it up and hauling it away or whatever else they were going to try to wipe it off. I'm happy to report that in about 4 or 5 years, I was sitting around the campfire with my cousin, and they just biked through the region, and she said, Anita, I'm so glad there's never been an oil spill there. That ecosystem is stunning. And I went, phew, okay, that one worked. And it did. It's beautiful. And there's been a beautiful recovery there. And so I don't want to leave you with the impression that there isn't anything you can't, that there's nothing to be done. And I do want to leave you with the importance of us continuing to do research here and demanding research. Because we do not have good answers. And we do not have great technologies to respond to these things. It is simply wiping it up, sucking it up, and throwing it away. Coast Guard station. I won't. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Jeez, they're so bossy. Now, that's what y'all get for having a bunch of women up here taking charge. That's what I got to say about that. And I think it's really important that we start challenging them with some specifics. It's one thing to stand up and say, no more bud, no. That's important. We need the activist voice. The activist voice creates the tension for those that are providing solutions to be heard. Let me say that again. The activists are vital to creating the tension that provide the conditions for the solutions to be heard. All right? Now we need some solutions. Because right now, nobody's claiming that territory. And the citizenry has an opportunity to take 6 key points initially over the next 6 months and make that your cry. Make that your demand. And those 6 key things are here. Number 1, reopen the Kitsilano Coast Guard Station. Now. I'm astonished that the commander is poo-pooing their ability to respond. And in the United States, the required response time in California from the coast, on the coast, for any oil incident is 15 to 30 minutes. You have to have your initial response in the water within 15 to 30 minutes. So don't let anybody tell you that it takes longer than that, because it doesn't. If you're planned right, you're prepared right, and you have your equipment right, you can handle that. And if the Kitsilano Coast Guard Station had been open, that would have never hit the beach. Mark my words. There's excellent examples in the state of Washington of a formal readiness assessment. Another word for it is a gap analysis. I mean, we kind of had one recently, and it sucks. But there's some very rigorous approaches to this, and it can be accomplished within 4 to 6 months and a report out. And I want you guys to hold them to that and ask for it. We need a readiness assessment, not only for English Bay, but for the entire coast. All right? Right now, this is critical. The second piece is the hot wash of the post-incident. The hot wash of the post-incident incident investigation in the United States is required under the process safety management law. You have to do an incident investigation, and you're legally held to the outcomes of that. It doesn't exist here, and you can still demand it. And they're going to do one anyway. And the key is to demand First Nations at the table, citizens at the table, and even if it's an online participation process where you send in your comments, feedback, there's ways to do this efficiently. And finally, don't hesitate to get a hold of Alaska and Washington. They've already had giant spills. They got a bunch of tools in their back pocket, and it sure would save a lot of headaches to just take advantage of everything they've already done, right? So why not bring those guys in, and the women too? It makes perfect sense. Then they need to start conducting joint response drills in English Bay. I would call for those on a quarterly basis with tabletops every other month, where you just sit around on a table with all the responsible parties and go through your plan and check it. Another thing is that I would work hard with the Port Authority. I know, they're appointed. We don't have a lot of power. It's kind of, plum job. And nonetheless, I think that the Port Authority will not suffer economically, nor will the transportation in and out of English Harbor, if we demand that as a condition of entry to port, every vessel is able to boom, contain, and keep anything that releases from its vessel, be it bunker fuel out of their fuel tanks or a release from an oil tanker, within 15 minutes of release. And see what I mean? You got some really key things that you can start demanding of folks, right? And then also, UBC and the aquarium. We have all the genius in the world right here in our beautiful city. And there's a beautiful synergy if we can get some funding for that to really focus on it, become a world leader on aquatic ecosystem health and aquatic ecosystem recovery in the event of an incident like this. And it all lives right here. Just needs to be put together and put to work. I bet they're dying. They're probably doing it anyway off the back of their desks. But why not fund them well and take good care of them and make it a center? You know, we want to be the greenest city in the world. Well, let's do some of the best things we can to keep it that way and become a world leader. There's nothing wrong with that. Be proud of it. And then finally, for any capitalists that might listen to this, or people that got to make some money, every other year, let's be the World Center for a Spill Conference on Emerging and Greatest Technologies here in Vancouver. It's a perfect place for it. Everybody loves Vancouver. And then we get to take advantage of all that learning and all that knowledge. And this is a cooperative effort. Not only that, we can start to collaborate on our resources so they're available to us and close by. And so those are the things I encourage you, and they will do it. And they won't stop coming here, and they won't stop supporting the economy, and they won't shut the door and leave, I promise. And you can push hard. And those are the things that are really, really important. I want to give you guys time to talk. And I think what I want to close with here is that please let what I went through inspire you. Please know that my being alive, let that inspire you. Inspire you to not stop and to get active and to collect together in organizations and to demand these 6 things. Industry can handle 5 or 6 things, right? That's all they can handle. Focus on that. And when I lived here in Vancouver, I was honored to sweat with the Squamish on the North Shore. And they taught me that the coast is sacred. And I want to leave you with that thought. There's no price on sacred. And there's just something important to us human beings that a pristine coast and a pristine aquatic ecosystem and a healthy English Bay without tankers is vital to our well-being just because it's sacred. And that ought to be enough. So I look forward to taking your questions, answering any questions that you have, and thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you very much, all 3 panelists, for very informative, very inspiring, and very thought-provoking messages.